Not yet? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting this morning. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. Before we start, I'd like to do some introductions. My name is Stan Komorek. I will be chairing today. On my far left is Sophia Ruddick, and my left, Donald Taylor. On my right is Rick Ross, and on my far right is Bill Dalton. I'd also like to introduce our Deputy Secretary, or Acting Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Philip Carvalino, and our capable staff. So the Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. I'd like to do a land acknowledgement before we start. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our hearing procedures for today. The Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid and in-person virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person. Others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the City of Toronto YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option to participate via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. All other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadlines. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use a share screen or any other panelist controls during your video appearance. Copies of the decision of the committee. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the local, to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances, the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed all rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specific persons and bodies as defined by the Planning Act are permitted to appeal decisions on the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision and of this committee. Hearing procedures, I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When you make your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants may choose to have the committee answer questions only. The committee may ask, and at that point may take the matter into the committee for decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. We will comment when reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee, must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matter at hand. The applicant or agent will proceed first, make the presentation to the committee, and then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has the opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the other speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Okay, back to the agenda. So for this morning's session, our first item of business is to confirm minutes from previous meeting. And can I have a, what was the date of, that was May 9th, okay. So the May 9th meeting. So if someone could move those minutes. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the May 9th minutes.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Mr. Ross, all in favor? Okay, the minutes from May 9th are approved. Next, I'd like to ask if there are any declarations of interest from panel members or staff for the items in the morning agenda.
Mr. Chair, I do have a conflict of interest for item 12. I live within the notification area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I guess when that item comes up, we'll ask you to leave. Thank you. So before we get into the main agenda, I believe there are two items requesting deferral for the morning agenda, item 1 and item 16. Is there anything else, Mr. Carvalino? No.
Mr. Chair, is it okay if I just do a quick sound check? Someone just called in.
Please.
Okay. Okay, call-in user 646659. Are you there?
Hi, this is Shinjian Mao.
Which item are you here for?
Can you hear me?
I could hear you. Which?
The Allerton one, 4 Allerton Road. I think it was 15.
15.
Sorry, I just switched to a different phone. I'm in my car now.
Oh, okay. Yes, I have you here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll deal with the two deferrals first. Item 1 is the first deferral being requested. If we could get the applicant or the agent online, if it's Curtis Van Cleen.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. My name's Curtis Van Keulen, Hughes Design Studio. I'm representing the owner of this property. Due to some contention with regard to the rear yard setback and overall size of lot still with the planning department, we did do our best to go back and forth with some revisions prior to the meeting. However, I feel that we don't necessarily meet everything at this time, and I'd like to defer and keep working with the planning staff to try and come to a resolution on this and get their support. Thank you.
Wise decision. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We can just check in with, I believe there are a number of area residents that were either in person or virtual for this item. Is there?
Mr. Chair, Julian D'Alessandro, I did not sound check him. He hasn't dialed in.
Okay, well, let's
And
check.
Caitlin as well.
Let's
Caitlin.
check in with people who are in person first.
Yes,
So-
Luigi Maselli and Monica Maselli. They're here.
Okay, and is Caitlin in person or no?
Yes, she's here.
She's here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the applicant wants to defer, which means that we would put this off. It'll come back another time. Hopefully, he'll come back with something that's a little more acceptable to everyone. But we just, because it is up to us to decide whether we want to allow the deferral or not, we just wanted to get your input or opinions on that request. You okay with it? So you'll get the same notice again in the mail, yeah. Yeah. Okay, perfect, thank you. So having heard the input, is there a motion to defer?
I'll move a motion to defer. It makes sense. They should go back to community planning and the community and
Absolutely, thank you, Mr. Nelson.
revisit.
I'll second.
Ms. Ruddick, seconder, all in favor? Okay, that item is deferred. And the other item is number 16. One Alderton Crescent, and we have an agent online, I believe, Charles?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning,
and
sir.
committee.
You're also wishing to defer your item?
That is correct.
Okay, any particular reason?
The owner decided to do some of the changes on the proposal,
Okay,
and there is a little bit of a conflict also that I noticed with the planner, so I'm gonna try to fix all the items as best as we can, and
Okay.
then,
so defer in order to process further with planning.
pardon?
So you want to defer so that you can process further with planning?
Correct.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak to this item? No. Okay, and there's no one online? No. Okay, we haven't, so.
Yeah, I'll move a motion.
Okay.
Makes sense. Go back to planning, figure it out. Thank you.
Mr. Dalton?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. All in favor? Okay, item 16 is also deferred. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. So we can go back to the top of the agenda then. For sure, for sure. Thank you. Just need to find my page 2 now. Okay, so the first item that we're going to hear this morning then is item 2, 25 BRIDGENORTH Crescent. And this is an application for a second-story addition above an existing dwelling. There are 2 variances being requested. There is an objection letter from number 19, BRIDGENORTH, which addresses essentially parking concerns. And the speaker is Jonathan Page.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know if we need a full presentation, but just because there is some objection, if you could just do a brief overview and then perhaps we can just get into some questions.
Sure.
So whenever you're ready.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
I'm sorry, just if you could just do a brief overview and then if there's any questions from panel members. I'm not sure if we need a full presentation.
Okay. I'm going to assume my overview. You're pretty much asking me to speak on the 2 sites, which is the footage, the back set, and also the coverage. In regards to the footage building over the garage, I'm assuming so. Both my neighbors at Ken Hill, one Ken Hill and also number 3 Ken Hill, they have built over their garage. So I don't think building over the garage at this point would be much of a nuisance to the community or anything that's going to be different, so to speak, to the community and how it looks right now.
Okay, so basically you're saying it conforms to the neighborhood character.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from panel members? No? Anyone ready for a motion? I'm assuming there's no one here to speak to this item? No. Mr. Taylor?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm satisfied that the 2 variances requested here are in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I note that with respect to variance 2, the front yard setback is currently 6.47. I move approval without conditions.
Okay. Mr. Dalton, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, sir. And I'm just going to take a second because I've got my wrong agenda up here. I've got May 9th. Anyway, we'll go to the next item. I'll get myself straightened out as we go. So item 3 is for CONIFER Drive. This is an application for a second-story addition above an existing dwelling. There is a total of 1 variance being requested, which is a parking space, and related to a parking space. And the agent is online. Do we have?
Yes. Hello, I'm John Carlotari, the agent.
Good morning.
Good
Again,
morning, Chair and committee members.
Straightforward application. I don't think we need a presentation. If you're okay with just opening it up to questions from panel members.
Sure, I completely agree with you.
Thank you. Any questions? No.
Really straightforward. And on that basis, I'd move a motion for approval. And there are no conditions.
Okay. Seconder? Mr. Ross? All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4 has been deferred. Item 5 is 46.
Nope, Mr. Chair, item 4 has not been deferred.
Oh, sorry, I had it, okay. From planning, okay. Yep. Sorry. So item 4, 40 Beckett Avenue. This is an application to convert an existing garage to a garden suite. There are 5 variances being requested. Planning staff is requesting a deferral. Forestry is requesting condition of approval, and TRCA is suggesting refusal. And the applicant is online?
It's me.
In person? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay,
Yeah, I wanted to defy it now because I have a problem with TCRA and I don't think the project will continue
okay.
because they say I cannot continue the project.
Fair enough. It'll give you a chance to talk to planning as well.
Yeah?
Okay.
Oh.
2 for 1, yeah. Okay. Is there anyone else to speak to this item today? No. Okay. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Sure, a motion to defer this application as requested by planning and agreed by the applicant to allow planning to consult with other departments and hopefully the applicant to work things out with TRCA.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reddick. Seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Okay, the item is deferred. Now. Yeah, sorry. Kind of jumping the gun a little bit there. So item 5, 46 Chartwell Road. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage and a rear deck. There are a total of 4 variances being requested. Planning has a condition of should we approve, and there is an objection from number 40 with regards to the length of the proposed property. This applicant is online, I believe. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
This is Nafisa Zangiabadi. I'm the applicant. My address is 30 Apple Orchard Path, Thornhill.
Thank you. If you could give us a presentation on this, please.
Sure. This application is just to add part of the basement, which is under the deck, to the basement. And the reason that we are this variances is that that part of the basement is added to the actual physical length of the building. If you can pull up the presentation that I added to the portal, so I can explain it on that presentation. Yes. Okay, so if you can see, I just highlighted the area that is added in the basement, whereas the house, the entire massing, coverage, length, and depth complies. And the part that we're adding in the basement doesn't have any effect on our neighbors. It's just under the deck. And our immediate neighbors were okay with that. There's no concern from planning, and they just wanted us to tie the decision to the elevations, which we are okay with. So I think this variance is minor in nature, and I would ask the approval of the minor variance application.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from panel members? No? Okay, we can take it into committee then. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Mr. Adult?
Sure. I think this application is straightforward. It meets the 4 tests. I would move a motion to approve, subject to planning condition to tie it to the April 15th, 2024 drawings.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Mr.
Chair.
Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the application is approved unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6, 53 24th Street. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are revisions to the original application. It was revised from 10 variances down to 8, and one of those 8 has further been reduced. Forestry is requesting a deferral, or in the alternative, condition 2. There is an objection from LBNA, and I believe there's been an alteration to the driveway width recently posted online. The applicant is Jonathan
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Binkowski. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee.
Good morning, sir. If you can do a presentation for us.
Yes, I would also like to note, upon further review, we will be removing one more additional variance. That would be variance number 2, which is for the side main wall heights. Oh, my apologies. Let me just ensure this is as per the public notice. My apologies, Mr. Chair.
So you said it was for that.
No, he's going to check. It might not be.
Yeah, I just want to ensure. I was looking at the waiver we sent in. So we will also be removing from, so as per the public notice, Mr. Chair, variances number 4 as well as 5 are being removed. Variance number 6 has been revised to 0.2 meters.
Can we get staff to post the notice so that we can see what we're?
Chair, the only difference is item 5 is being deleted now. Everything else that Mr. Binkowski's referred
Was already deleted. Okay.
Yes, it's just the one additional number 5, Mr. Chair, that upon further review, I noticed that the side main walls also comply with the height.
Okay, so we now have 7 variances, and one of those is reduced.
Correct.
Okay.
If we could bring up the site plan, I believe this is a fairly straightforward application following the revisions that have been made. So as per the site plan, the driveway width and landscaping variance is as a result of the easement that is located between the 2 dwellings. The driveway itself, if we were to not include the easement, is compliant with the zoning bylaw itself. As you can also see at the front, we have curved the driveway around the tree on the boulevard that urban forestry is speaking of. There is no other ability to alter the driveway to avoid that tree, Mr. Chair and committee. So in terms of the request for deferral that is being made by forestry, we are not able to alter any other portion. We are outside of the protection zone. We did have an arborist look at it. They said it should be okay. There wouldn't be an issue. We are happy with the conditions of forestry. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. So going back to the variances, the variance for driveway width as well as the landscaping, again, is solely a result of us not being able to alter that portion of the easement. That really leaves us with a variance for gross floor area, one side yard setback, as well as dwelling length. If we were to zoom in on the actual site plan itself, you would notice, Mr. Chair and committee, that the dwelling is sited exactly in the same location as the existing dwelling that is there today, meaning that side yard setback to the north is already 0.61 meters that is dotted below. Essentially, this is a rear addition because now we can call the dwelling compliant with all heights, although it is a new dwelling. It really would be masked from the street exactly as per the zoning bylaw in terms of the height, and would be maintaining the setbacks that are there. Again, in my opinion, this is a fairly straightforward application. I'd be happy to answer any questions that may arise from the objectors.
Thank you, sir. I guess the questions will start with panel members, if anyone has any.
I have a question. So is forestry now indicated okay with the application? Because I get the sense they're not. Because they're asking for the deferral.
Sorry, Jonathan, were you able to hear the question?
No, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not able to hear Mr. Dalton at all. It was very muffled.
Sorry, I wasn't on. So in the materials that we have, forestry is asking for a deferral because they want the necessary information to confirm the trees are and can be protected. Have you provided them with that?
No, through you, Mr. Chair, we have not. What we have provided is we did have an arborist go. We are outside of the protection zone of that tree, in our opinion, from what our arborist said. But again, this was a late comment. We weren't able to get anything in, but we really cannot do anything else for that tree there, committee. We've curved it around it. It is outside of it. There's really no ability for us to alter that anymore. And again, the protection would be the condition that forestry is requesting, that if they had an issue with the injury that they would deem to be unacceptable, they could just deny that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess forestry's alternate position is application to destroy or injure private tree, right? So there is that option.
Yep.
Any other questions? No? Okay. And we have, is that Andy Choles that's online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we also have someone in person.
In person? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's
His name
do
is
it-
Peter.
Let's do in person first. Got to give some priority to coming here.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. I'm representing 51 24th Street, which is the shared driveway between the two properties.
Okay, can we just get your name, please?
Peter Carastamatis.
And do you reside at number 51?
Yes.
Thank you.
So shall I?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we just want to make sure we don't have a lot of issues, and we didn't understand. So I have the drawing here beside me, and there is a shared space driveway that we have a garage in the back. And we need to be able to continue to drive and have access to that garage. So we just wanted to make sure there's no gates or posts put up between or the distance changed. Right now it's 7.5 feet between the two properties from foundation to foundation. And that 7.5 feet we'd like it to maintain, meaning no posts, no blockage, so that we can drive the vehicle in and make a little easy turn and go right into our garage, so that they don't bring the gate forward or put any block of columns or anything like that would stop the vehicle from being able to, a normal size vehicle, because it is very tight already. And so 7.5 feet is minimum that we need for a small, basically pickup truck to go in there and park. That's all.
That's your only concern is the right of way?
That is our only concern, just that we are able to drive to our garage without scraping the vehicle on something.
Okay, well, you understand that the easement is the easement and neither of you are allowed to build on it.
Right. And so after, because they will put a gate up, from what I understand, there will be a yard, there will probably be a fence, and there will be a gate. So when the
But that gate has to go beyond where the actual easement is in terms of where it is on title, right?
Okay, I'm not sure where it goes here.
According to their drawings, but I'll let Mr. Binkowski address it at the end of other.
Okay. And that would be our
presenters.
only concern at this
Okay.
point, just that we have access, we can still use the driveway. It doesn't, any construction doesn't hinder our ability to drive in.
Yeah, because
That's all.
from the drawing, it looks like it ends midway through their proposed rear deck.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're not allowed to build anything there anyway. Beyond that, it's really up what you decide or what you agree with your neighbors on.
No, that's okay. That's not our, we're not concerned about how they build or what they build, but just that we can
Okay,
get in there.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, should we go to Mr. Choles next?
Good morning. My name is Andy Choles. I live at 12 Jasmine Avenue in Long Branch. I'm a board member of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. I'll be
morning.
referring to the exhibits, the LBNA letter of objection by Christine Mercado, dated, well, that's on the screen now. We have a mission statement in the LBNA to protect, celebrate, and enhance neighborhood of Long Branch. I'm here to oppose this application. This plan bill at 5324th is an overly tall house crowded onto a lot. It really doesn't fit the streetscape. Currently, the application proposes a house with a floor space index of 0.67, close to double the permitted FSI of 0.35 in this area. The home is long at 17.46 meters, made worse by an inclusion of a privacy fence to conceal a rather large elevated deck projecting from the rear of the home. The reduction of the landscaping, particularly the soft landscaping in the front yard, is unacceptable. The vertical is certainly emphasized in this home with huge windows on the front of the home and a 12-foot front door. The applicant managed to dodge the variance that deemed the 8.84 main wall exceeded maximum height allowed for the front exterior wall. They did this with a very recent revision, pulling the soffit down to 6.99 meters, but the huge second floor windows still top out at 8.84 meters. This excessive height is emphasized by the large frames around all front windows. It's like someone wanted to appear shorter, so they pulled their hat, the roof in this case, pulled it down further over their head. It seems more recent changes that we have come along that I'm not wasn't aware of. We are told our materials are to be filed 10 days or a week in advance. The inclusion of an integrated garage makes matters worse by creating a huge void and adding to the massing of this home. Despite recent revisions, this application continues to have 8 variances, against it. The driveway mentioned earlier could also be reduced by the width on the north side rather than where the easement is. The official plan for the City of Toronto states that no changes will be made through rezoning, minor variance, consent, or other public action that are out of keeping with the physical character of the neighborhood. The character of 24th Street is a build form of 1 to 2 story homes. There's even a multiplex at 3324th, some doors down, that maintains the 2 floors plus basement. 0.35 or less is prevailing in the immediate context of 36 lots on the street, as shown in the analysis on page 18 of Ms. Mercado's letter of objection from the LBNA. And I note that green, shown on this map, denotes houses with FSI 0.35 or less. Could we switch to that page, please? Page 18. The analysis is part of a TLAB decision for 4324th, just down the street, which had some of the very same issues. 2 stories above a garage, resulting in a home that reads as a 3-story building. That design, like this house, included an integrated garage that needlessly added to the massing of the home. Number 43 was rejected by this panel, and your decision was upheld by TLAB. That complete decision is attached for your reference and very pertinent to the consideration of this application. Most homes on this street do not include an integral garage. Most use a parking spot in front of the house, with some using a driveway, possibly shared, leading to a rear yard garage. Integral garages on a property of this width create a large empty space not counted in the FSI and necessitates boosting the main floor up above the garage. Maintaining the parking pad in front, as is the current situation, will allow for living space closer to the ground level and preempt the need for the elevated deck at the rear. Further design changes could also reduce the height of this deck and eliminate some of the overlook problems. Referring again to Mrs. Mercado's letter on pages 21 to 24, a few photos are shown with area houses that may have had increased FSI, but still managed to maintain the two-story appearance that is characteristic of homes on 24th Street. 9 and 21 24th are newer builds that may do without an integral garage and preserve the present parking solution. 21 and 30 24th Street have integral garages, but they have maintained the one story above the garage. These are compromise solutions, but go much further to maintain the 1 to 2 story homes that are found on 24th Street. Please stay away from 3-story homes on this block. This application could certainly benefit from more work. Forestry has recommended deferral because of the concerns that city tree in the front will not be adequately protected. The arborist report dated January 17, 2024 is confusing, since it shows 3 trees positioned in what looks like the family room with tree protection around them, plus the indication that they are to be removed. The revised site plan labeled no changes to variances dated May 21st, 2024, that's just 2 days ago, but not the one shown today, shows these same trees in the same position. All 5 trees on the plan have a similar red ring around them with no explanation what this red ring means. Perhaps it's my inexperience reading tree maps, but I see forestry remains concerned about the city tree, recommending deferral. I would ask that the committee to please reject this application today. The LBNA is not opposed to new development, but we would hope that whatever is built is something that is appropriate for our neighborhood. This house is too large and too tall for the street. The house design is not prevailing on the street in the immediate context.
Sorry,
The
John.
paperwork that's filed
Sorry,
is
Andy.
rather confusing.
Sorry to interrupt, Andy. You've exceeded 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
You could quickly wrap up, but yeah.
Let him wrap up.
Okay, I can do that too. The house design is not prevailing on the street in the immediate context. The paperwork that filed is rather confusing. Failing outright rejection of this application, I would hope this application would be deferred to allow many more improvements to make it taking into careful consideration the character of the street in our neighborhood of Long Branch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Choles. Any questions from panel members? No. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this item? No. Okay, if we can come back to Mr. Binkowski then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to address the neighbor's concern to the south, yeah, there is no proposed post, fence, or anything within that easement itself. It is to remain unobstructed, essentially exactly as it is today. And as I briefly went over, the position of the dwelling essentially mirrors the existing dwelling on the property now with what is being proposed. So I know the concern might have been getting a pickup drive through the front. It exactly mimics the setback, both to the north as well as to the south. So again, the question from there, I believe, is pretty straightforward. In dealing with the objection from the Long Branch neighborhood, I'd like to address a couple of things. The changes we have made have eliminated all height variances. What that tells us is the massing is appropriate as per the zoning bylaw, which means it fits in with the character of the neighborhood. That's the role of the official plan as well as the zoning bylaw, is to create built forms that essentially fit with the massing of a neighborhood. There is no requirement here that does not permit an integral garage. It is permitted as in the zoning bylaw. And again, we are not requesting any height variances. I'd also like to just add one note. We did also put on the site plan that the proposed driveway is to be of permeable pavers. If meritorious, we would be happy if that were to be made a condition. There was also an interesting comment about the width of the driveway could be reduced. If we could just zoom in at the front, because of the actual location of that easement, we cannot reduce the driveway at all. The driveway itself on the private property is actually below the zoning bylaw requirement if we were to take that out. So we would not have a request for a variance for the width of the driveway at 3.1 meters, we would be below that. So in terms of how this could be massed any differently, I don't really see any opportunity to mass something that is as per the zoning bylaw as it faces the street in terms of overall height, as well as front main wall heights and side main wall heights. There was also a comment made on the building length. In my opinion, it is modestly over the required building length. And as you heard from the adjacent neighbor to the south, they have essentially no concerns with the proposal. And we did not hear from the adjacent neighbor to the north, which would be the two people most affected by that. I think that's really my response. Again, with the changes made, it is massed appropriately from the street as per the zoning bylaw, and therefore fits the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Binkowski. Any questions from panel members? Okay, so we'll take.
I have a question. You said it fits the character of the neighborhood. Will this be the tallest house on the street?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to be honest, I'm not sure, but it is compliant with overall height, even pre the alterations that were made. It was compliant with the overall height requirement and is actually considerably below it. And with the additional changes of bringing the main wall heights at the front and rear and both sides, again, it is compliant with the zoning bylaw in that sense. So again, it fits that character of the neighborhood as being compliant.
Thank you.
You don't have an idea in terms of height related to the immediate neighbors on either side, I guess.
Well, I could actually give it to you fairly quickly because the survey does have, if you just bear with me for 1 sec.
Sure.
So to the south, just bear with me. The property to the north has a roof, top of the roof, of 110.11.
Okay.
And to the south has a roof height of 106.54. So if I bring up our drawing, just bear with me for 1 sec. I closed it.
Yeah, I mean,
our height is at 99.9, which does not seem correct.
No, just looking at the drawings, and I mean, the site plan's helpful to show your relationship to the two immediate houses. On the elevations, you don't have that, and that really would, I think, would have been helpful to the committee. But if we can get that from you at this point, I think it'll go a long way.
But to recap, though, you're removing variance 4, which is for height, variance 5, which is for height.
But it's for main wall height. I don't think the overall height's not being reduced. Is that correct?
Correct. The overall, there is no request for an overall height variance.
So, no, but you're not reducing the overall height from the proposal which you have on your drawings.
Oh, from the original proposal, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
No, from
yes, it was.
From what's shown on the drawing.
The original heights proposal. The original height proposal was, just bear with me for 1 second, was 9.33. The revised is at 8.7. So we've taken off 0.63. So about 2 feet in overall height with all of the revisions.
Okay, and the house to the north you're saying is at 10?
Is at 110.11. So it would be probably fairly similar in height to what we're proposing.
What you're proposing would be lower, would it not? Than
Yes,
the neighbor to the north?
In and around that area. I don't. Yes, I'm hesitant sometimes to just take the surveys like this for the adjacent properties, but it would be fairly similar.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No?
You know, you said that there are two windows above the garage? I believe
Above the garage, yes, there are 2 floors above the garage, correct.
Rick, this is. Okay, we'll take it into committee then if there's no other questions. And just before we do that, I guess I'll kick off the discussion. Just wanted to say that, you know, what we're looking at here is a fairly modest proposal in terms of square footage. I mean, the lot is not large. I mean, that's the challenge in some of these properties. But you're looking at just over 2,000 square feet. So this is not a huge house that's being proposed.
Yeah, I would agree, Mr. Chair, and I think, you know, this is a very old neighborhood, and the house on this property is a frame bungalow, I would guess 90 to 100 years old. The zoning bylaw limits new construction on this lot to 105 meters squared, or about 1,100 square feet. That is not in keeping with the desires of families today for the size of a home. And as you pointed out, 2,200 square feet is quite reasonable. So I guess my thinking on this was it's a reasonable house. Does it satisfy the other, the variances that are required? Are they minor? And I think I've concluded that they are. So I see this as a very reasonable proposal that meets the 4 tests in my mind.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Any other discussion? No? Anyone ready for a motion then?
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm not sure. We don't have a motion on the floor yet.
Oh, I thought he was making one.
He was just making a comment.
He did not lead to a
It sounded like one, but how about I formalize it?
Then-
I'm satisfied that this application meets the revised application, meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act. So I move approval of variances 1, 2, 3, 6 is amended, 7, 8, and 9. And that motion would be subject to, I'm going to say urban forestry conditions 1 and 2, because they recommended them under separate pieces of correspondence. So urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder? Mr.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Binkowski.
Thank you.
Okay, what time do people want to do a break, or should we keep going? Couple more? Okay. So number 7 is 2 Mitcham Drive. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There were 10 variances which have been revised to 6, 4 of the 6 have also been further reduced. Forestry is requesting conditions 1 and 2. Planning also has a condition of approval should we approve tying it to the plans. And we have on file a letter of concern from number 4 next door. And we have a petition letters of support in the added materials. Welcome, Mr. Milne, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. My name is Addison Milne Price, for the record, planner at Design Plan Services located at 900 the East Mall, Suite 300, here on behalf of the owner.
Okay, I guess we would like a presentation. It's a question of how long you feel is appropriate. But,
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. I'll perhaps go over what has been revised in the proposal as amended and address the concerns that were raised by the adjacent neighbor at 4 Mitcham Drive. let's see if I can do it within the 4 minutes and 30 seconds up there. So as the chair stated, the variances have been reduced from 10 variances to 6. The remaining variances have all, for the most part, been reduced. I'd like to start by just giving the committee a bit of background on the lot coverage variance as to why we are still requesting that specific amount. Through our consultations with planning staff, reducing lot coverage was a priority, and we aim to do this in 2 ways. The first was to reduce the overall footprint of the building, particularly where the building did not comply with the setbacks, such as the front and rear. And the second was to reduce the total footprint of the front porch and the rear deck to total no more than 5%. The proposal before the committee today has accomplished both goals, but we do still require relief from the lot coverage provision. The committee may be familiar with a provision of the zoning bylaw that exempts certain platforms from the lot coverage calculation. That includes porches and decks as well as canopies above them. This works quite simply. Essentially, as long as the combined lot coverage of your porch or deck totals to no more than 5%, that 5% is not included in the lot coverage. So we did reduce all of the lot coverage of the porches and decks to 5%. However, in our discussions with planning and the zoning examiner to confirm the requested variances, I was told that because there is habitable area underneath the proposed porches and decks, this area is still included in the lot coverage calculation. It's my view that the intent of the zoning bylaw is to exclude these platforms, but due to a technicality of including a basement, which will obviously have no massing impact on account of it being underground, these platforms are counted along with the actual footprint of the dwelling. Overall, the actual lot coverage of the dwelling is indicated at 35.39%. On the site stats, and this is, in my opinion, a minor increase from the maximum lot coverage of 33% in this instance, and is consistent with other lot coverages in the neighborhood. I'll also speak briefly to the dwelling length and dwelling depth variances, which have been reduced, but I'd like to point out that on the site plan you can see the above grade building length is now 17.18 meters. The remainder of the requested variance all refers to massing that is under the ground. So in the same vein as the lot coverage, the numerical value of the variance belies what we're actually requesting for in terms of massing. Now, I'll just quickly speak to the concerns of 4 Mitcham Drive. The concerns raised were not necessarily within the purview of the committee, as they were concerned about construction issues and potential damage as a result of the new construction. But I'd like to point out, if the neighbors are listening, that we do intend to comply with all of the side yard setbacks, and therefore there would be no more impact further than what's already contemplated as of right on this.
Because you're not requesting any side yard setbacks on the variances, right?
That is correct. There are no requests for side yard setbacks, and in fact, there are no requests for any setback variances of any kind other than what's requested for the front canopy.
Okay, and your other issue, I believe, is addressed by planning tying it to the plans. That's why they want to do that. So.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to have that condition added to the decision of the committee.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Is there anyone here to speak to this item? No? Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll take it into committee then.
So I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm prepared to make a motion to,
sure.
Given the changes that have been made and the revisions that have been made, I believe it now does meet the 4 tests and appropriate development for the land.
Okay, so you're moving a motion to approve as amended.
Correct.
And with forestry conditions, planning conditions?
The planning condition, which was in the planning report, should be there, and I believe it's forestry 1 and 2.
Yes. Okay, motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous approval. Thank you. So we'll do one more and then take a 10-minute break. So number 8, 3605 Weston Road. This is an application to permit a vehicle dealership. There is 1 variance, and it's basically that a dealership's not allowed in an employment zone. Planning has 7 conditions of approval, and I think this is a bit of a unique situation. Where are we? And we have speaker in person. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
I will not attempt to pronounce your last name.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members. My name is Roshan. I'm a planner at Design Plan Services located at 900 the Small Suite 300, and I'm the agent for this application.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation. I think we kind of get the idea of really what you're dealing with here is ancillary to the main use. And it's really a technical variance in that regard.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. And I would note that I have reviewed the planning report, and my client is agreeable to the recommended conditions.
Perfect. Any other questions? No? Okay. Someone ready for a motion? You're okay? Does planning put a time limit on there as well? Are you okay with that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That was one of the 7 conditions.
Yeah,
3 or-
one of the 7, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So on that basis, I'd move a motion to approve, as I believe the application meets the 4 tests, subject to the conditions in the May 13th, 2024 planning memo.
Okay. Seconder? Mr. Taylor? All in
I'll
favor?
second that motion, Mr. Chair.
It's unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. If we can take a 10-minute, thanks. I panicked because I walked to the top. But I didn't get to the restore button.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, are we back? Okay, welcome back. Thank you for the indulgence of the break. So our next item on the agenda is number 9, 56 Graystone Gardens. This is an application for a 2-story south side addition with an attached garage and second-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 7 variances being requested. Planning is requesting a condition of approval, and we have on file a petition on support. And that's all that we have. And Joe Dome is the agent, and Mr. Dome is online.
Yes, my name is Joe Dome, 133
Welcome.
Torresdale Avenue, agent for the owner.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation. If there's any highlights you want to touch on, and then if there's any questions from panel members. Are you good
I'm
with
sure
that?
I can go over it briefly.
Okay.
And we just do feel that this application before you was a creative solution on this pie-shaped lot. I would like to point out variance number 1 for the proposed lot coverage 42%, and for the front yard soft landscaping variance number 7. They're due in large part to that irregular shaped lot as it narrows to the front. The existing front yard and driveway would be maintained. For the length and depth variances 4 and 5. I'd also highlight, excuse me, that the length and massing is broken up considerably between the north and south portions of the dwelling. The north portion would maintain the existing length of 16.6 meters. The south portion is set back considerably from the front lot line. Variance number 2 refers to the proposed south side yard setbacks, which are minor in nature and consistent with the neighboring setback. Variance number 3 for the rear yard setback, that refers to the rear yard setback, but this really does only apply to the narrowest point on the southwest corner. It widens considerably to the north due to the angle of the rear lot line. And furthermore, the north portion complies with the bylaw, and the subject rear yard backs onto a truck storage depot and parking lot, minimizing impact. There will also be no privacy concerns, as there are no windows proposed on the south wall of the addition. And as mentioned, there were many form letters in support on file from neighbors, including both adjacent neighbors. And as outlined in the staff report, planning staff have no concerns with the application. Overall, we feel that in context, the application is reasonable and minor in nature.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak to this item? No? Okay. We can take it back to committee then. Any discussion?
So I will just ask the applicant, it seems to me this is kind of the standard solution for a pie-shaped lot.
Well, this is, yeah, we feel this is a creative solution here for this lot.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Someone ready for a motion?
Sure. I'll move to approve this application. I find it consistent with the 4 test and minor nature, and widely supported by the community as well, subject to the planning condition that it be tied to the architectural drawings on record for April 9th, 2024.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Is there a seconder? Mr. Dalton, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Dome.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10, number 90 Hadrian Drive. And this is an application for a 2-story west side addition, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, and a new front covered porch. There is 1 variance being requested relating to front yard setback. Forestry requesting condition 1 with regards to a city tree, and TRCA and Ravina Natural Forestry have advisory comments, and there was a presentation provided in the additional materials. And the applicant is online.
Yes, good morning.
Good
Siobhan
morning.
Suchi, 90 Hadrian Drive.
Good morning, welcome. Again, I don't think we need a full presentation here. If there's just some highlights you want to give us, and then if you're open to questions of the panel members.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the committee. we are requiring a alteration, a reduction in the front yard setback so that we can build above the carport and also enclose the carport into a garage. If we do go with the 9.15, then we would not be able to have a garage, a minimum size garage. We also have concerns about safety because there was an attempt robbery on our vehicle. So we do want to have a secure place and feel secure to store things within our garage. Yes, it's just a small adjustment, extension from where we have the existing carport settings, and it is consistent with what we see in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Anyone ready for a motion? Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Are you aware of and okay with urban forestry condition 1?
Yes, I'm aware of that condition. I think I have a question concerning the difference between consulting with the city, having that tree protection zone versus having to go to urban forestry to ask for, that requirement. We don't have any desire to injure or remove the tree. Our desire is to protect the tree, and the construction is away from the tree protection zone. So I don't know if you can give me more clarification as to why that condition must hold.
Would you be prepared? We would be compelled, if we approve this application, to include that condition. So would you be satisfied in trying to sort it out with urban forestry as to what you have to do to satisfy them?
Okay. Yes.
I guess I'm saying, even though you're uncertain about what it means, we would require it. We would impose the condition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are willing to comply with that condition.
Okay. Mr. Dalton?
Yeah, so on that basis, I'd move a motion to approve, as I find the application to be straightforward and meets the 4 tests, subject to forestry condition number 1.
Thank you. Seconder?
Seconded.
Mr. Ross? All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous approval. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, item 11 is 15 Springmount Avenue. This is an application to construct a new triplex. There are 5 variances being requested. Forester is requesting 3 conditions of approval. Forestry is requesting condition 2 in the event of approval. We have Metrolinx with advisory comments, and we have a number of letters of objection. I believe there's 5 in the original file and an objection petition which was added recently, as well as an additional objection letter. And well, I guess we're back to Mr. Dome. Joe, are you there?
Yes, again, my name is Joe Dome, 133 Torresdale Avenue, agent for the owners.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think we're going to need a full presentation on this one. If you'd like to do that, please.
Yes, the purpose of the application before you is to construct a triplex. We feel that this site does provide a good opportunity for this, as there are 5 variances requested, and we do feel that they are quite minor in context. Variances number 1 and 3 refer to the proposed front yard setback of 4 meters and front porch encroachment. And this is mitigated by the fact that a portion of the front yard setback is the same as existing, and the majority of the second floor is also stepped back a further 0.61 meters. The direct neighbor at number 11 is set more forward than the proposal, and the front yard setback provides a gradual stepping back of the dwellings from number 11 to 17. Variance number 2 refers to the proposed side yard setbacks of 0.61 meters on the east side and 0.99 meters on the west side. And the impact here is really mitigated by the fact that the east main wall setback is an existing condition, as the basement and main floor wall will be maintained. And on the west side, there are some comments from the neighbor regarding impact from this proposed 0.99 meter setback. However, this variance does only apply to a 7.57 meter portion of the main floor sidewall of the garage, while the second story and the remainder of the side main wall complies with the bylaw. Finally, variances 4 and 5 refer to small front yard landscaping and soft landscaping variances. However, this can be attributed to the fact that the front lot line is set back further from the street, and there is ample soft landscaping on the larger city boulevard side of the lawn. We have read the comments from neighbors on file, and I'd like to briefly address a number of the common points that were highlighted. First, a triplex is now an as of right under the bylaw, as is the FSI and parking spaces. The proposed dwelling length is 17 meters in this case and is not requesting overall height or main wall height variances. There were some comments about the heritage, and I'd like to note that currently there is not this is not a heritage designated dwelling. Drainage will be addressed during the building permit process to the city's satisfaction. And to speak to comments regarding the tree, I'll note that urban forestry does not have any concerns and have recommended condition number 2. Planning staff have no concerns with the application as well, and transportation conditions are acceptable. A number of them have already been addressed and added to the latest submitted site plan. And overall, we feel the application in context is reasonable and minor in nature. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you in record time. Any questions from panel members?
Yeah, I just had a clarification. On the west side, you're looking for the variance of 0.99. You indicated that's for approximate length of 7.5 meters. What's the existing condition?
So the existing condition, you can see the darker outline of the existing dwelling on the site plan. So that's where the existing condition would be. But as I mentioned, the 0.99 meters only applies to that first story, the garage side main wall for 7.5 meters in length, and then be at the second floor above that. Excuse me. The second floor above that is actually stepped back further to meet the bylaw, and also the remainder of the side main wall on that side meets the bylaw, and the length of the dwelling is also only 17 meters.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we have a number of speakers on this item.
Mr. Chair, we have 3 people.
Okay, there's someone here in person?
Yeah, all 3 in person.
All 3 in person, okay. So, don't know, what order do we have? I have his email address, but no name.
Okay, so there's Dave.
Can I just ask a question before
Sure.
the opposition of the applicant? You mentioned that the 0.99 was for the first so many meters because of the for the garage only. If we approve this, would you be comfortable with a condition that listed how far that went?
Or tie it to the site plan?
Tied to the site plan, because the way it is now, it could be the whole wall.
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry, is it David Curry? Come on up. Sorry, we don't have a prize for you, but. Yep.
Now you got to see the light.
Press 12.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay.
Hi.
Welcome.
David Curry, 2 Wadsworth Boulevard. Hello, Committee of Adjustment. Nice sandbox you got here. Really, I'd just like to refer to an exhibit that was attached to the letter that I sent. That was an opinion of Alan Young that was submitted in regards to T-Lab at 5 Wadsworth Boulevard. And he goes into quite a bit of detail as to what, like when you ask yourself about your 4th test and you're looking at the official plan, and when you say, is this keeping with, does it fit in with the neighborhood? Does it stick out? Look at this and walk through the neighborhood and read Alan Young's report, okay? And you'll see that this is a neighborhood of peaked roofs and gables and space between houses. And it's a challenge for Alex, for sure. It's a 40-foot by 100-foot lot. It's a smallish lot. And I am all for triplexes. I live next door to a triplex. They're really lovely people there. I think more housing is awesome. I'm just saying that the design of the proposal in front of you, it doesn't meet your fourth test. So please consider that. I'll refer to the exhibit when they're saying that physical changes to our established neighborhoods must be sensitive, gradual, and fit in with the existing character. A key objective in this plan is that new development respect and reinforce the general physical patterns in a neighborhood. So if you walked around this neighborhood and you put the proposed development along with, let's say, 100 in the immediate context area, this is a 1 in 100 outlier. So I'm just asking for this design either to get deferred so it can be sent back to the developer to please try to fit in, or reject it and send a message to Mr. Dom and say, try a little harder. Give us a little more quality, please. The real key point is the integrated garage. And if you want to look to facts, this is where Alan Young really hit home with the T-Lab when he's saying that he looked at 107 properties in the immediate context area, and no one has one of these, you know? They'll have like a garage like at the side of the house on a different roof line, or they'll have a garage in the backyard or something. But it's like, it just looks so suburban. And this in like the old village of Weston is not appropriate. The FSI is another issue, but is allowed as of right. So, I mean, that's another defining characteristic of the neighborhood, but I won't address it at this time, considering I got a couple of minutes left. From the Toronto official plan of December 2023, by focusing on most new residential development in the downtown, the centers along the avenues, and in other strategic locations, we can preserve the shape and feel of our neighborhoods. However, these neighborhoods will not stay frozen in time. The neighborhoods where we grew up and now raise our children help shape the adults and the society we become. Some physical changes will occur over time as enhancements, additions, and infill housing occurs on individual sites. A cornerstone policy is to ensure that new development in our neighborhood respects the existing physical character of the area, reinforcing the stability of the neighborhood. I mean, this is like your one chance to get it right, because third-party appeals are no longer allowed. So I'm asking you, please defer this application, send it back to Mr. Dom, have him walk through the neighborhood, take a look. I don't think he even got out to the site. There were errors on his original drawings. Thank you for amending them. But I just wish, going forward, I hope that when neighbors want to build something, they'll knock on their neighbor's door and say, hey, what do you think of this? How can I make you happy if I'm going to do this? And it's a shame it ends up here. That's all I'm saying. So thank you. I think that's my time. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Don't go away.
Thank you for listening.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify, and maybe other members have questions for you as well. I just want to clarify your main concern, because it sounds to me like your main concern is around the design of it. Is it around that, or is it the density and the bulk of the?
It's the FSI. Most houses in the neighborhood have an average of 0.37 FSI. There are a couple of outliers at like 0.5, 0.6.
Okay.
But generally at 0.67, it's a bit high, so that's out of character. The integrated garage is my second characteristic of the neighborhood, and that is also out of character. And the flat roof is a third characteristic that is also out of character.
Okay,
so you could list 3 characteristics that are wrong for the neighborhood.
Fair, except we're not allowed to police design in the sense that if someone chooses to do a flat roof, we can't say you have to do a peak roof.
But you are allowed to police the fourth aspect, which is the general intent and purpose of the official plan that I just read you what is in there in December 2023.
With regards to bulk, with regards to massing, with regards to a lot of other issues. But anyway, just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no worries. Any other questions from other members? No.
Yeah. Yeah, just following along from the chair's remarks. First of all, I think you acknowledge this. FSI isn't an issue. He's building within the FSI.
Triplex is
stipulated
good.
by the bylaw.
Yes.
So that's not an issue. What we're looking at are 5 variances. That's all. Which of those 5 do you have a problem with?
It's the side yard setbacks, which are supposed to be 4 feet. I think he's calling it for like 2 feet on one side and then 3 or 4 on the other. And I think that was Steve's main point. So yes, Donald, I get it that you look at minor, tick, tick, tick. But I'm saying you also have a job to look at the 4th test and respect the general intent and purpose of the official.
Well, I know all about the 4 tests.
Good. Thank you.
I'm not saying I don't.
Thank you.
You talked about the garage. Is there a variance here specifically that concerns you around the garage? Because there's no prohibition on an integral garage.
Except that it would be, if you took a poll of 100 people in the neighborhood, that would be the one. So it goes back to the official plan here, which is also part of what you look at, right?
Correct. But you're not pointing to
you know,
any specific variance.
The design could be worse. I'm not like, I'm just in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. And the design is submitted. It's not too tall. It's not overly long. You know, it's not all bad, certainly. You're right. They're pretty minor requests. So yeah, you have that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And my lady.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip my page. So Georgia and
Mr. Chair, when I did a sound check, I did not find Georgia,
okay,
but there is Martin.
could be here. She's here. That's why you couldn't do a sound check. Come on up, please.
And I have a couple people online as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's go through the people.
We do the ones in person first.
Okay.
I'm Trevor Gain. I'm here speaking on behalf of Georgia and Steve, the owners next door at number 17.
Okay. Welcome.
Is it my turn?
Please.
Okay. First of all, I'd just like to read a prepared statement by the owners. Were not able to submit this in time. So this is a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Steve and Georgia Sortis. When I got this letter for the development next door, it was a surprise since there was no warning about it or discussion from the neighbors. Alex, a week later, came over and I expressed my feelings. My concerns were the variant proposed would take away from the ability to maintain our property, and also I have concerns about the loss of property value and structural damage and water damage that could occur from this development. Since they'll be digging in approximately 10 to 9 feet below the garage to accommodate habitable space, they'll be into, there could be potential structural damage to our house. As I understand, the soil is sandy and there's water, a high water table running underneath the property. I asked Alex if this was going to be a rental development. He said he plans on living here and renting the basements. With this additional rentals, it will cause traffic problems. Even though parking is not before the committee anymore, parking is still an option in this area. There's no overnight parking on the street, and the development has caused a lot of stress for our family, and we've lived on the street for 44 years and expect to spend the rest of our lives here. We work very hard to continue to work and make ends meet, and we hope we can enjoy our property in the years to come. This has the potential to be a disaster for us. So in the remaining minutes of my time, I'd just like to speak about the additional concerns. Mainly the setbacks is the biggest issues for my clients. The front yard setback, the applicant mentioned about the houses stepping back. That is true, but that's also exaggerated now because the house is going wider in the property. So there is a natural stepping, but all he has to do is push it back 0.6 and he's as of right. So with that additional going forward, that also creates the landscape variances. Decrease in the front yard mimics, so we're in single-digit landscaping reductions, which sounds minimal, but in a high water table area, all the absorption is needed throughout. And further to that, there's a large driveway that goes across the front. This is a 1.5 car driveway, not a 2-car driveway, so there is a missing variance that the zoning examiner never picked up. A parking space inside, as mentioned in that transportation point, is 3.2 meters wide, and there's an additional 2 and change inside. What's that for? There's nothing, not unheard of to have a 1.5 car garage for storage, for garbage cans, whatnot, but why 2 meters of storage? All the applicant needs to do is push back the 21 centimeter encroachment on the west side. That is now an as-of-right wall, and he still has ample storage inside. So with that, the driveway should only be around 3 meters wide because it is leading to a 3-meter wide parking space. So that also adds to the soft landscaping. And as I mentioned before, the side yard setback of the 0.99, there's a habitable, could I get the applicant's floor plans, the basement plan up on site? Thank you. So there's the basement apartments, there's 2 bedrooms underneath the garage, and this habitable space steps down from whatever depth they have in the basement to approximately 9 feet below grade. So with that 9.9 meter setback, and my client's setback is 0.7 in one corner, 0.59 in the other, their basement is only 5 feet below grade. So again, that's sort of a construction issue, not before you, but it's a realistic that they will be into that angle of repose. They will be undermining that footing. So perhaps the applicant can discuss how they're going to get around that. Because simple shoring can hold the soil for health and safety, but it will not hold the corner of the house. The other setback on the opposite corner, I recognize that it's going up on the existing footprint, fine. Can I have the basement plan up? However, if you notice that that setback on that side is 0.61 meters. So I'm going to speak about some building code issues right now, which again I know is not before the committee, but if you approve these variances, what you see here will not be built because the building code will come into play. They have a 0.61 meter side yard setback down that side, and that leads to a side door and a private stair for these 2 apartments. That is not a legal emergency service access. You need a minimum 0.9 meters for emergency service to get down to that basement. The emergency services can't even go in the front door and bust their way into the basement because there's no internal connection between the ground floor and the basement. So how is emergency service? So this will get approved through zoning, but through building permit, something will change. So will the whole house get shifted over? And if we approve that 0.99 on one side, even if we don't tie it to plans, not just the site plan, the applicant can shift that whole house over so that the entire yard is now 0.99, making it worse for my...
Not if we tie it to plans, and I think that's why it was...
That was the point I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So I realize I reached my time. So just to conclude, there's no windows in this basement. There's not a second means of egress out of this basement, so something's got to happen here. And I think it's important that the committee and the community understand what is being built here, because this triplex will not be approved. He can switch everything back to a single-family dwelling, and that might be fine, but then we're back to height and we're back to floor space index, which has to come back.
Given what you're saying, he may be back here again for another committee meeting.
Correct, which is kind of wasting everybody's time.
Which does happen.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, we respectfully request that you just deny this application. We think it's an overreach, and also there's just a general uncertainty of what this thing is going to look like at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Do we have Mary and Paul?
We have 2 more people in person. Do you want to go through them?
Do we know who they are?
Beverly and Martin Proctor.
Oh, okay.
My name is Martin Proctor. I live at 17 William Street. I guess I don't have too many points to bring up other than concerns over what this may do to the water table in the area. I am aware of an underground stream that does flow through part of the property in my own garden. And from what our original neighbor indicated, it flowed down to McDonald Avenue, so through Springmount down to McDonald. With the size of the property, it just seems like it's taking up a majority of the lot. I'm on a smaller lot in actual fact, and we take up about a third of the property. The other thing, I don't know whether this would be a factor or not, that doesn't seem to be getting mentioned, is Springmount and indeed Wadsworth, neither street actually have sidewalks on them. So I don't know whether there would ever be a variance with sidewalks being added in, so whether that would impact on its proximity to the street or not.
Not really, because it's all, sidewalks are within the street allowance. The street allowance doesn't change.
Okay, and just, I have lived next to a property that there's been construction going on for 40 years. And it's still going to be going on. And I know what it's like, what it does to your house when there is a construction project going on. We have cracks in our walls that we didn't have before all that work started going on. And I'm concerned about how large this property is going to be and how close it is to its neighbors and what it's going to do to them. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Can you address the specific variances you're concerned about? Translate what you just said into variance?
How close it is width-wise, I mean, even from a fire standpoint, jumping.
So you have issues with the side yard setbacks? basically?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
so. I don't know the correct.
I got it for you.
dialogue to-
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay, Mr. Chair, Beverly Horonick, 14 Springmount.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Beverly Horodnik, and I'm here to support my neighbors that have put in
Reset
letters
the
of
time.
objection. And I'd like to add myself, if possible, to the petition of objection on the grounds of the variances 1 and 3, the setbacks, and also the general characteristics of the building itself. The architecture is not in keeping with the neighborhood, in our opinion. Yes, it's the density and bulk that we object to the flat roof, and for sure, the integrated garage. It's just nothing that you see in that neighborhood. Not just that street, the whole neighborhood.
Okay, is that it?
Yes,
Thank you. Any questions? Hold on. No? Okay, thanks very much.
thank you.
Okay, are we back to the agent? Is there anyone else?
No, sorry, Mr. Chair. We have Paul Pever on the line and then James.
Okay. So if we can start with Paul. Hey, welcome.
Paul Pever. Hello?
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 We can hear you. Can you give us your name and address, and then you can give us your concerns, please?
That's Paul Pever at 12 Springmount Avenue. I'm basically in line with the first presenter, Dave, about the characteristics of the neighborhood. It's a small street. There's only 9 houses on the street, and they're all basically heritage in nature. Like the house on the corner of Wadsworth and Springmount was built in the late 1800s. My house was built in 1927. And it has a lot of historic characteristics, as does the entire street. And this new structure is just going to completely ruin the character of the street.
Okay. Is there anything else? So essentially, you feel that the proposal is out of character for that neighborhood?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No?
I guess my question is, when you say you feel it's out of character, is that because of primarily the garage, because of the flat roof? Is there something specific? Did we lose him?
Two other people, man. 2 other people, man.
What was that? I didn't get that.
I know, I didn't hear that. Sorry, did you hear the question? Mr. Peaver? Hello? Okay, I think we got the gist of it. Can we move on to James then?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, if there's somebody in the room for this item, they wish not to speak, but if you just want to confirm. Not sure.
Well, if they want to speak, they can. If not,
I didn't register to speak, but I'll make it short and sweet.
so let's give us your name. And
As
your
I said, my name is Henderson, and I'm from 16 Springmount Avenue. And as I said in the email that I sent in, and my objection is to variance number 2, the reduction on what you call the west side, which is really the north side. And as was mentioned before, and the problems in maintaining the buildings and with the general character of the neighborhood, it's the space between homes that's a major problem. And I see no justification for allowing that variance on the setback, side yard setback on the west side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the next person, James, he requested to be on video, so I'm just going to ask.
Sure.
James, are you there?
I guess I am, yeah. I don't necessarily need the video, but
Okay. No problem.
whatever works.
Okay, welcome. We have your name. Are you at 9 William Street?
Yes, I'm at 9 William, which is kitty corner to the proposed property.
Okay, thank you. Give us your concerns.
So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read my 3-point memo here. So given it's a triplex, that is a residential building with more than 2 living units, is its design and construction governed by the small residential building section of the Ontario Building Code? Is the question I'm asking. I believe one of the other speakers brought up the building code issue. So as opposed to the section that governs residential buildings with 2 units, I'm asking this question as I've also considered creating more than 2 living units in a single residential dwelling, not at my current location at 9 William, but elsewhere. But was told by planning department that this would require much more expensive design given the requirements to satisfy the above mentioned more stringent section of the Ontario Building Code. So in the case for 15 Springmount, is it classified as a small residential building is my question. And is it then therefore governed by a different building code? And I believe the second speaker brought up the same issue. I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that concern or.
We'll try to address it all at the end, if we can.
Okay. Okay. So my second point was as to the requested variances, particularly number 2, which would be I think the west side side yard variance, but all the variances listed 1 through 5. I guess my concern is why can't the homeowners and their designer simply conform to the required sections of the bylaw? Is it not simply a matter of making a very slight change to their design in order to meet the requirements of the various sections of the bylaw in question? Why are the immediate neighbors, who are the most affected by these variances being requested, the ones to make what they feel are tangible sacrifices? Is there a good reason why the owners and their designers could not conform to the bylaw? And I'm talking about all the variances, but I think the most concerning one is the second side yard variance. That was my second point. And thirdly, I agree with the CA letter of objection submitted by David Curry on 2 points, that the general design is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and he supported it with a substantial report that spoke quite diligently to that issue. And then secondly, to David Curry's point, creating more living units in the city is desirable, of course. So those are my 3 general concerns there: the building code, the variances, and why the owners, designers can't simply make small changes to accommodate the property within the bylaw. And then third point being that the nature of the character. And I believe that's all those are my points there.
Okay, thank you. We'll ask the agent to address your questions in a minute. Do panel members have any questions for this deputant? No. Okay, thank you, sir.
Good.
Is there
Thank you.
anyone else online or in person? No. Okay, so we're back to the agent then. Mr. Dome?
Yes.
Okay, hope you're taking notes. I guess it's you're on for your rebuttal.
Yes, and we appreciate the neighbors' comments, and to speak to those comments, we can certainly understand that an application for a triplex can bring up a diversity of views. But I still would like to highlight the following points: that looking at the variances before you today, they really are quite minor for the proposal. Transportation has no concerns with the proposal, including the integrated garage. The side yard setbacks are also consistent with the setbacks of the adjacent neighbors, and as well as setbacks of many dwellings in the neighborhood. Construction concerns are a condition that would apply for any development, including if entirely as of right. As it's outside the scope of zoning, the building code would need to be fully satisfied. And a relevant point is that planning staff and transportation staff had no concerns in their respective reviews. And a triplex is, as of right, under the bylaw, the FSI parking spaces as well. We feel also that the setbacks provide adequate mitigation of massing. The soft landscaping variance is very small, and the city boulevard portion of the front lawn makes up for that a difference, but there's a lot of soft landscaping within that city boulevard portion. And just overall, we do feel that, in spite of the neighbors' concerns, really feel that the variances before you are really quite minor for this type of application. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, thank you.
You indicated that transportation had no issues. There were some conditions, which would be.
That's correct. And the conditions were, many of the conditions were already addressed in the latest site plan, the things that were requested to be added, and their conditions are acceptable.
Okay, with regards to the front yard landscaping, I mean, you are so close to meeting that variance. Is there any other, have you considered any other way to mitigate that?
The only way that we can see to mitigate that is that there's a walkway. There is a new walkway proposed in front of the porch. Perhaps a little bit of that could be reduced, but really we also feel that there's a walkway that extends sort of next to the driveway that's currently existing, but that's on the city boulevard portion. Perhaps that could also just be reduced to make up for that difference.
Okay, are you open to permeable pavers?
Yes, that would be an acceptable condition.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I guess one of the, and I'm sorry, I forget which one, but one of the objectors' point really was that how come it's the neighbors making all the concessions and don't seem to be any coming from the applicant, other than what we've just heard about, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that.
I think that comes down to the fact that that really the variances, each of the variances that are proposed, they do seem to us very minor, especially given the existing setbacks that the neighbors already have to their respective lot lines. So the neighbor on the west side has a 0.7 meter setback to the side lot line, whereas the request here for that 7.57 meter portion of the side wall is 0.99, and on the other side as well have 0.76 meters to the lot line. So we feel it is fairly consistent, and that the step backs from the second story on the front and the side, that thought that was a successful mitigation of impact.
Well, you talk about variances individually, you believe are minor, but the reality is we also have to look at the variances in total, if that minor still applies, as opposed to individually.
Yeah, and also to speak to that, we do feel that cumulative impact is also not great, given the as of right nature of many of the aspects of the proposal, and also the dwelling height is within the bylaw, and main wall height as well.
I think a big portion of it, if I can interject for a minute, is that you're trying to maintain an existing wall, and that's your biggest setback issue. Is that essentially correct?
That's correct, on the east side.
So by maintaining that wall, I'm assuming that will mitigate during construction the excavation, because you're not going to need to excavate that side?
Yeah, that's correct.
Are you going any deeper than the current basement?
I'm not sure about that.
Because that'll affect whether you can really make use of that existing wall or not.
One moment. So for the basement plan, it does show the walls as existing for a significant portion of that east side. So I'm not aware of it going down further.
So you're not looking to underpin the existing wall?
I don't believe so.
Okay, because that I think could alleviate a lot of concerns. The fact that you're not going to be disturbing that section of the site, if that in fact is the case.
Apologies. There will be some underpinning, I believe. Sorry, I just got the owner has mentioned that there would be some underpinning in this case. My apologies.
Of the existing wall.
That's right.
Okay.
I thought I had also heard earlier, I think it was first presenter talked about increased depth of the basement.
That's why I was asking that question, yeah. It still mitigates it to some degree because you don't have to do a full dig out on that side, right? So just wanted to enlighten the committee on the full picture.
Well, we obviously have issues.
Yes, apologies that it does show in the A307 the section, the underpinning.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for the applicant or the agent? Sorry. No. Okay, sorry, what elevation was that?
So that was the section, I believe it was A307.
Okay. 305, 306. Okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, and then just to summarize some of the other questions that were asked, you're okay tying to the site plan and elevations with regards to the other setback? And you're okay?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're also okay if we were to add permeable pavers as a condition?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess we'll take it into committee for discussion then, unless people have questions for any of the other deputants before we do that. No? Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Curry and others made had much to say about ensuring that the development is compatible with the character of the neighborhood. And obviously that is a very important aspect, and it is a policy as set out in the official plan for the city. However, I just wanted to also state that in the official plan, section 4.1.8 specifically, it states that zoning bylaws contain numerical site standards for matters such as building type, density, lot sizes, depths, frontages, et cetera, to ensure that new development is deemed to be compatible with the neighborhood. So when we consider the fourth test, satisfying the general intent and purpose of the official plan, I'm saying that we should be mindful of that provision, because basically, again, as I said to Mr. Curry, what we're really looking at is the 5 variances in accordance with the 4 tests. And I'm just saying that one test, satisfying the general intent and purpose of the official plan, is spoken to in the official plan, section 4.1.8, which states that the numerical standards set out in the bylaw are deemed to address compatibility and character issues, and that we need to ensure that the 5 variances requested from the provisions of the bylaw don't offend that principle.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for a good update on the zoning NOP. Any other comments? No? Is anyone ready for a motion?
I'd like to move a motion to approve, as I do believe the application meets the 4 tests, subject to the conditions in the Forestry and Transportation Services memo. And then I think, as discussed, we'll then as well tie it to the site plan and the elevations that are on file.
Anything else? The site plan and elevations with regards to the setback.
Correct.
Okay. Do you want to go permeable pavers, or you're going to leave it? Do you want to, on the paving issue, or?
Sure. We'll throw that in as well, permeable pavers. As the applicant was agreeable to it, so it makes sense.
And that's for the driveway or the walkway, or I guess we didn't discuss that. But,
walkway.
Okay. And is there a seconder for that motion?
I will second. I just want some clarity. Was the aspect of permeable pavers in the front yard addressed by Mr. Dalton's motion?
Yes, he's suggesting that that's
Permeable pavers for the
be
walkway.
used for the walkway to
Front yard.
on the front yard to mitigate the variance for landscaping.
Okay, and we don't know the extent of that mitigation, nor are we concerned. As long as it's going to be better, it may result in a 50% landscaping condition, but it's going to be better.
Yeah, but as long as it's better than what's being
Okay, on that basis, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so that's approved on a split decision. Oh, sorry, I just want to get the details down for the minutes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dome. Thank you to the presenters. Okay, item 12 is 2150 Lakeshore Boulevard. This is an application to construct event-specific tents for shows. There are 4 variances being requested, and Metrolinx has advisory comments.
What did they do?
And this is one where I was a little confused because we didn't have a previous decision, but that, I believe, has been pulled up now. And Carrie is the agent. Do we have the agent on?
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
I'm Carrie.
Hi,
Carrie
welcome.
Cousineau. Hi. I'm the applicant for Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, we're a little confused because we thought we approved you last year, but then we just realized now that it expires in June or something. So I'm assuming that's partially why you're here?
It is. So we were partially approved last year on condition that we have our transportation management plan approved,
Right.
and which we have done. So we have a multiple year lease at this site, and our intent is to present shows there on an annual basis. We're currently set up. We have planned performances until August 4th. So our request is to have the minor variance approved to the end of 2028, which would be most likely the last year that we could have performances on that site, since there's a future development there.
Okay, but we're looking at no time constraint on this. Like, we're not necessarily going to limit it to that.
Okay, great.
I'm not sure if we need a full presentation, but maybe just some highlights. I think what you're proposing is slightly higher than what was last year in terms of height of the tents. Is that correct?
So I think when we were in the committee last year, what we discussed the height of the tent, we talked about to the top of the mast. So we have flags. So it was, within, a foot. So the tents that we have are around 24 meters high. And in the decision from last year was 23.94. So that, in terms of my understanding, it was just that's the top of the mast, but we have an actual flag. So it depends on how you look at the actual tent height. Okay. But regarding that variant in comparison to all the buildings in the area.
Oh yeah, I don't think we're concerned with it
yeah.
one way or the other. It was just
okay. Okay.
It was just a curiosity over
yeah,
why you're back.
So the tent, yeah. So it was really well. That's it. Our understanding was that once we had our transportation management approved, then we wouldn't have to come back. But then we were asked to come back. So I'm here. I'm glad to answer any questions. I appreciate everybody's time. But basically, so it's a different show that's set up this year. All the tents that we generally bring and that we tour with are all similar. It could happen that in other years the tent could vary a little bit, but in terms of height, that's what we'd be generally looking at. And again, compared to the surrounding buildings and compared to the future development plan on that site, which is, very high condo towers. It's not.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Not.
I think,
yeah.
Last year we really didn't know how the area was going to be impacted by traffic, by parking, by noise, all of that. The feedback that we're getting at this point is all positive. So I don't think,
okay, wonderful.
You have the benefit of coming back here with that history as opposed to a bunch of unknowns. So, unless there's
we have worked really
anyone
hard,
has any more questions, I think we're good with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The question though on What variance is it? Number 4. The word
Get the mic.
temporary parking. So are you looking
Yes.
for approval to 2028? Are we then okay with keeping
So in terms
temporary
of
in
the,
there? And
yeah, so in terms of the,
and will it always be 552 spaces?
yes. So in terms of the space that we are temporarily occupying, it's really going to depend on the future development in terms of the steps and development that they take. But there's no, they would never go over that. And in reality, we usually see about 300, between 300 and 400 cars getting parked on our lot. And one of the reasons for that variance is there's, there's not much other parking space in the neighborhood. And we don't want them taking up residents' parking. That's why we're having them park on the site.
Good, thank you.
Okay, and from year to year, you may be altering slightly the layout or the height or whatever. So as long as you're not going over what we're approving today, I guess you don't have to come back for a while then.
Okay, wonderful.
At least that's what we hope anyway.
Okay.
Everyone good? Someone ready for a motion?
Sure. I'll move a motion to approve, as I believe the application meets the 4 tests and there are no conditions.
Thank you. Seconder.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sophie. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay. Number 13. 16 Masseygrove Crescent. This is an application to legalize and maintain a pool house, cabana, pergola, and deck in the rear. There are 10 variances being requested, and there is support from both of the immediate neighbors. And the applicant, or the agent is online.
Hi, Mr. Chair and the committee members. Thank you for having me today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't think we need a full presentation. If you could perhaps just give us some highlights and then answer any questions there may be.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Kyuta Kim. Yeah, here to represent the owner of 16 Masseygrove Crescent. Yeah, we are here to ask a relief for the existing accessory building, as you mentioned, like a existing pool house, cabana, pergola, deck, and shed in the rear yard. So basically, we have full support, from the neighbors residing in 14 and 18 Masseygrove Crescent. Also, the councilor is strongly supportive of our application. Yeah, we believe this development would be a good example in this community, elevating the overall aesthetic appeal of the property and the exceptional outdoor space for residents. Yeah, due to the configuration of the property and the huge slope from front to back, I believe that all variances are minor in nature, since it is either partially encroached the side setback or just slightly over the permitted requirements of the total floor area and height. So that's why I believe that it meets the 4 test and then minor in nature. So basically, there's no any condition from urban forestry, and then even planner has no concern. So that's why planning report is not even necessary to go to COA. And
Okay.
also the owner,
Okay, thank you.
pretty much it. Yeah, that's
All
pretty
right,
much it.
and
Thank you.
this is already built, correct? Or most of it, or some?
Yeah, it's existing.
Or it's
So basically for
mostly
the
built?
deck is a reconstruction, and then other than that, other structure is already there. Yeah, it's existing condition.
Okay. There's no one else to speak for this item now. Okay, thank you.
So my question is, how did we get to this point that it requires legalizing and maintaining? Were there some missing approvals originally, or?
So was this
on the second page? I mean,
was this
there's
built?
pictures that.
Okay, was this built
Sorry,
without a
sorry.
building permit? Is the question?
Yeah, basically it's after fact minor variance, so we got the order to comply. So that's why we ended up, attending the survey.
Okay, but did the owner know that he needed a building permit or just proceeded without?
Oh, actually, we had a project for the second story addition, and then inspector came, and then inspector see the difference from the site plan. So that's why she issued the order comply. So previously, the owner has no a knowledge to apply for a building permit. So
it's a
that's
very,
why,
so it was constructed not in accordance with the original permit issued. Is that correct?
Nope, actually, I mean, without any a building permit, just owner, construct the pool house and then other structures.
There were 2 orders to comply, though, correct?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
There were 2 orders to comply.
Yeah, basically 2 orders, but altogether is 5 variances described in the order to comply.
Okay, let's just go back to the variances then. So what do we got? It's actually quite a few. So there's 10 variances in total.
Yeah.
And both the immediate neighbors appear to be okay with all of them, so.
As does the counselor.
Yeah. And we have nothing from planning. Yeah, I mean, if you look at each variance individually, they're relatively minor. It's just the number of variances that kind of strikes you when you see it.
Well, it's also approval after the fact.
Well, but we can't consider that any differently than if it was before the fact.
Correct.
That's why they would have paid double the fees. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone ready for a motion? I think, as I say, each of these variances looks fairly minor. What's the effect in total? Probably substantial, but with both of the immediate neighbors being in favor, it's hard to argue against it.
And the counselor.
Okay. Maybe the counselor's got use of the pool.
Well, we won't question.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I guess in my mind, fortunately for the applicant, I believe these variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. I would just offer as a cautionary remark, perhaps to this applicant and others, that there's a very real substantial risk in coming to this committee after the fact. You know, the consequences of a refusal would be obviously devastating, but within our rights. However,
and it has happened.
And it has happened. Yes, it has. Entire houses. Anyway, I'm satisfied the variances meet the 4 tests, and I'm prepared to move approval without conditions.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, number 14, 24 Ravenscrest Drive. This is an application for a 2-story addition above an existing dwelling and a new 2-story front addition. There are 3 variances being requested, originally 4. It's been revised to 3. And there is support There are some form letters of support attached to the file. There are no conditions of approval being requested by any departments. And we have an agent online, Arbin Zapati.
Hello?
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 Welcome.
Yes, my name is Arden My name is Spati,
Sorry.
the agent for the owner.
You're kind of breaking up. Can you try
Yes.
again?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, my name is Arden. Hello?
Please
Hello?
continue. Yeah.
Part of the name.
Hello?
Please continue. Can you hear us?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes, my name is Arben Spati, the agent for the owner.
Okay. Can you give us just a brief overview? I don't think we need a full presentation. And then if we have any questions for you?
Yes, it's a second-story addition on top of the existing house and a two-story addition on the front of the house. I've been in touch with the planner. Previously, I had a deck at the rear. It was removed. Only in the meantime, I've been in touch with the conservation for some changes, which now they don't have any objection. And yes, there are only 3 variances now.
Okay, thank you.
The one that was removed, okay.
I think we're good. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay.
No? Okay. Anyone ready for a motion or?
I'm ready for a motion if there's no questions.
Okay, Ms. Reddick?
I move to accept this application. I find that it's minor in nature and meets the 4 test. There are no conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. As amended.
That is correct.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous approval. Thank you. Arbin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Number 15, item number 15 is for Allerton Road. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There were 4 variances which have been revised to 3, and 2 of those 3 have been reduced. There are advisory comments from Metrolinx. Forestry is requesting condition 2, and the neighbor next door at number 2 has a letter of objection. And Marian Zabzuni, I believe, is the agent and is online. Mr. Zabzuni, are you there?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. This is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Good morning, sir. I think we're going to need a presentation on this one.
Absolutely. So we've actually worked close with city planning to make these changes. We removed the building length variance and reduced lot coverage. So we only have 3 variances, and I would like to note that the building envelope itself does comply with the zoning bylaw, meaning that building length, building height, and building width and side yard setbacks fully comply with this envelope. So we work with planning. There were some letters of support also submitted from neighbors, and we do believe that this proposal is minor in nature. Thank you.
Okay, so currently you're requesting FSI of 0.71. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you
Yes.
have examples of that in the area that are comparable?
Yes. One moment. So there is right behind, essentially, 1160 Islington Avenue was approved at 80%, and also 1164 Islington Avenue was approved at 96% FSI. There's also 62 Clissold Road that was approved at 0.67%, and several others in the 60s. So
Yeah,
again,
if you could stick to examples that are not on a major road like Islington, I think it'd be helpful.
Yeah, so 62 Clissold Road is at 0.67.
Okay. We'll come back to this because I think we've got, there's someone online as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's, unless there's questions from panel before we move on. No? Okay. So we do have a area resident online as well. Just one.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Hi. This is Shinjae Mao. So we are so I own the unit right adjacent to this proposal. So we are on 2 Allerton. Essentially, the issue is like, based on the proposal that we saw, the new unit would be a multi-story dwelling that basically takes up almost the entire width of the lot. And 4 Allerton is a very small, I mean, it's a relatively narrow 40-foot lot from what we can tell. Our unit is almost, I guess it's like 70-something years old. I assume most of the houses on the street are also 70-something years old. If this unit, if 4 Allerton requires an extension basically to that level of width and height, I assume they're going to have to need to do like the foundations completely again. We're worried about structural damages to our particular dwelling and also just general noise and blockage of our windows because it would be very, very, very close to our lot, which is currently open. Their house is sort of offset a little bit, so we're beside their garage. In the new proposal, it looks like the 2-story building will be almost adjacent to my bungalow.
Okay, we can only address what variances are actually being requested. If I don't see any.
Okay, so the variance would be all 3 of the. So the size of the ratio of the unit, the length of the new proposal, and the I actually forgot. I think it's like the size of the stairway, the width of the stairway has been extended. Those are the 3.
There's no
variances, right?
There's no variances. There's no variance being requested for the length of the unit. There are no side yard setbacks being requested. So we can't address construction or issue or noise issues based on that because they're building that as of right. So what they are requesting is a variance in the FSI, i.e. the size of the building and the lot coverage.
The size of the building, right?
Okay, so
yeah.
what is your
size of the building and
so
the lot coverage?
Okay, so can you speak to those issues and how that is a concern to you?
Oh, so the size of the building and the lot coverage would be significantly greater. I think it was like 0.7 versus the current 0.4 in terms of coverage, and it would adversely affect the quality of life of living in my unit, given it would block a lot of our sunlight, and it would be it would take up a significantly large amount of space on that lot, and I'm not exactly sure how to express this.
Okay, I think we kind of get it. Thank you. Is there anyone have any questions? Any panel members have questions for the deputant? No? Okay. So we'll come back to Mr. Zabzuni to address your concerns as much as he can. Thank you.
Yes, I'm happy to address that. So I believe the neighbor's primary concern is the building envelope, mainly speaking the building width and building height. To reiterate, we do comply with building width. We are not asking for any variances in that respect, and we do comply with building height as well. So the building envelope itself is within the as-of-right footprint, and we worked with planning to remove the building length variance as we already complied with the previous. They are in support of the application, and I believe that this addresses the neighbor's concern where we're not asking for any building height variance length or side yard setback with variance. So I believe that these variances are minor in nature. Thank you.
Okay, and just looking at your drawings, this doesn't appear to be a multi-unit dwelling. This is a single-family home, is it not?
Single family.
Okay, thank you, because I think that was one of the concerns that was raised as well, which I don't see that. As I say, my only issue is with the FSI and just, you know, whether it's common in that area or not, and whether you could provide us with some examples. I believe you provided us with one. Do you have anything other than that beyond, and if you could stay away from the main streets, because that's going to be a whole different ballgame within a week or so.
Yeah, there's a few in the 65s and 64s that I can name if you like. So I'd be more concerned that.
So you're pushing it just a little bit by taking it to 70, right?
Yes, but we do comply with building envelope. So I think that's very important, and how this reflects with FSI, which is more due to the lot size. So if we were to ask for additional building length and width, I could understand the concern with FSI, but since we respect the as of right footprint of the building envelope, imagine having a small open to below area where this would reduce the FSI but has zero impact on the building envelope. It's more of a technical variance, I would say, given that we do comply with length, width, and height, and that's why planning supports that based on the rationale there.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted you to kind of elaborate on that. Thanks. Any questions from panel members? No? Okay, we can take it into committee then. Any discussion, or if someone's ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion for approval, as I believe the application meets the 4 tests subject to forestry condition.
I will second
Okay.
that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Zabzini.
Thank you.
Sorry, and that's just for those taking notes, I guess, as amended. Thank you. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, number 17, how many we got left? 2 more. 16's been deferred. So we're down to number 17, which is 16 Buckley Crescent. And this is an application to maintain an existing garage and covered patio in the rear yard. There are 4 variances, one of which has since been reduced. And Marco Vieira is the agent.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Marco
Good afternoon.
Vieira, with the agent for the client. We're at 257 Dunraven Drive.
No.
That's his address.
Oh, that's his address.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation. If you want to just hit us with some highlights, and if there's any questions, if you're good with that.
Certainly. So through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the existing garage does have a building permit to it. It just has not been fully closed. So the garage gets added to the coverage for the covered patio because they're both attached to each other. So it's basically maintaining the covered patio that's being attached to the existing garage. That was done with a permit back in 2020. We did discuss our proposal with planning staff. They expressed no concerns with how the coverage and of each of the units was being looked at collectively, but they did express concerns with regards to the proposed soft landscaping. So the focus of our communication with planning and the revisions was to significantly increase the proposed 18.59 soft landscaping and bring it up to 40% of the rear yard. And we did that by having the client agree to remove quite a bit of existing concrete patio area from the lot so that he can increase the soft landscaping, which we believe significantly improves our proposal, and it meets the intent of the bylaw, and it closely puts this proposal we feel, working with the 4 different tests, and we feel that collectively they are minor, and with the proposed changes, we ask the committee to approve as revised.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. I'm assuming there's no one else online for this? No? Okay, if we can take it into committee then, and any discussion, or if someone's ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion if there's no questions.
Okay, Ms. Reddick?
Move that we approve this application. I find it to be minor in nature and consistent with the 4 tests. The application is revised. And I don't believe there are any conditions.
No conditions. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Ross, all in favor? Sorry, no, Mr. Dalton? Wrong, right. One more to go. Okay, thank you, Marco.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Okay, last one for this morning, number 18, 219 Rustic Road. And I need to get to the agenda page for this one, so if you'd give me 1 second. It's too long to have made notes on. This one, yeah. Okay, this is an application to construct a 2-story front and rear addition, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a carport along the east side of the dwelling, a covered front porch, and a detached garage in the rear yard. There are a total of 6 variances being requested. There is a letter of concern from a neighbor, and there was a previous application from February 22nd, 2024. And the only difference that I could see from that application to this one is that there is a height variance being added. So maybe we can ask the applicant what that's all about. So Joe Dome, I believe, is the agent. Mr. Dome, are you?
Yes.
Are you there? Okay. So
yes, hello again.
So in February, you were granted 5 of these 6 variances, were you not?
That's correct. The application was approved at committee with the same drawings back on February 22nd. The new application before you today, it's before you today for the reason that a variance was missed by the zoning examiner for the proposed garage height variance. That's number 6. And the west side yard setback was also not listed on the notice.
So the drawings
are the same.
Are the same? That was going to be my question. Okay. So it's essentially the same application, but variances that have been missed. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Clarifies things a lot. Okay. There is someone, is there an area resident online as well? Okay. So, Joe, given that there is someone else online, do you want to do a brief presentation, or do you want to just wait until you hear from the neighbor? Leave it up to you.
I can certainly address whatever comments there are from the letter that I saw. There was just some confusion about why the application is coming back, but I can certainly address the garage height variance and the side yard setback if required.
Okay, well, let's wait and see what the neighbor has to say then. So, Rose Leto? Okay. Sorry, I don't have them on my list, so. Hello? Hello? Okay, are you there?
Hello?
Okay.
At the same time.
Okay, do you have, was it on our end? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, welcome. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Hi, so I'm Rose Leto's husband. My name's Ezio Kandari, and I live at 46 Burr Avenue.
Okay, thank you. And you have some concerns with this application?
Our concern is just that we know we know that the garage was increased from 60 square meters up to like 80, just below 82 meters, an increase of 35%, and that the height of the garage is being sought to be increased to over 6 meters, or about 18 feet. I guess our concern is we just want to understand what the purpose of such a large garage is, which is almost the size of many of the small bungalows in this area. So we just want to
That's a
know
fair
what
question.
the purposes of the garage, and that it's not like a garden suite or intended to store like some sort of construction equipment or commercial equipment that I believe one of the owners, maybe father-in-law, owns or something like that. So this is all our concern is just really just to understand the purpose of such a large garage and such a high, like a tall garage.
Okay, and I'm assuming none of this has been built yet, and is there an existing garage there now?
It was torn down, and no, nothing has been built yet.
Okay, thanks. So that's basically it. You just want to know what the purpose of the structure is going to be.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Dome, can I turn that over to you? Joe, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can now, thanks.
Yes, to refer to the comments for the rear garage, the old garage had collapsed, so this proposal is proposing a new garage. It's not out of keeping with other garages in the area. It has a peaked roof design. There are a number of detached garages, including next door, 221 and 211. I'd also point out that there's for example, two houses to the west, 207 Rustic Road, there's actually a much larger rear yard ancillary building. I mentioned this within the previous application as well. And this ancillary building is right next to the rear of the subject property due to the unique rear yard for the lot. And so this is much larger in scope. I guess it would be so the proposal would be within the height that is in the area. So I don't see any negative impacts as far as the garage is concerned. And also, I would point out that the owners previously, when we came to committee in February, the owners had spoken to all their surrounding neighbors. They had received 13 form letters in support, including from both adjacent neighbors and 7 neighbors directly across the street. So that was previously on file. And also point out that with the previous application and this application, planning staff have no concerns.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of, I mean, you're not creating habitable space, just to address the other question that was being asked.
That's correct.
So this is not intended to be a garden suite or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And, okay, fair enough. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone else to speak on this item? No. So we'll take it into committee then. So I think given that it's been a variation of this has been approved in the past, so what we're looking at now is some additional height. Otherwise, and slight, is it an increase in size as well? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This is a unique lot too. You've got
It is.
a huge piece in the back, right? So there's no lot coverage issues here.
So with that, given that it is a part 2, the continuation, I think this application is straightforward. It meets the 4 tests. The additional variances are just for the garage, which I think are in keeping with the site as well. And as there are no conditions, I move a motion to approve.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Reddick, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Dome. Thank you to the neighbor. And
Thank you very much.
I think we're adjourned for the morning.